I'm Patrick Byers, Horticulture Field Specialist with University of Missouri Extension. Thank you for joining us for our video series, Practical Advice from Successful Farmers. Today the subject is business models.
So I'm Andre Gradinariu. I'm here at our family farm. Our family farm is called Gardener's Orchard and Bakery. We're located here in Brighton, Missouri. We are a direct-to-consumer farm and a farm market. We're providing our local customers with amazing fruits and vegetables that we grow here locally on the farm. So kind of like our business model. So everything we do grow here on our farm is available for you pick, from the strawberries to the tulips we grow in the spring, to the apples, to the pumpkins, to the blueberries and blackberries. So we open up our farm to the public. Public comes out here. We try to do an amazing job growing the beautiful products, and the local customers come out and enjoy a beautiful day here on the farm. With that, we've integrated and we add a lot of food here on the farm. So we're doing homemade pizzas, lemonades, kettle corn, cotton candy, fresh made hamburgers. My mom makes an amazing slushie with our fresh berries that we grow here on the farm. So that's kind of our overview of our goal is, as an operation, is selling directly to our consumers. So everything we grow here on our farm is sold directly to our customers. So being a U-Pick operation, we quickly realized that yes, growing fruits, specialty crops is a very profitable business to be in. The only issue we were seeing is, as farmers, we only have X amount of days out of the year to pay for the entirety of the year. So as a farm, you got bills to pay 12 months out of the year. If you're just a strawberry farm, for example, you only have 4 to 5 weeks out of the year to be able to save enough money to, pay your mortgage, your bills, and all of the other stuff out of the year. So then we were sitting down with the family. We were thinking, hey, we got to do something now. So we got to do something more to create a hype, a bigger operation than what just a strawberry picking is. So then we got to talking to other growers in the area and other growers around the area and the United States, and they're talking to us about charging an admission fee, doing more activities, starting to do food on the farm. And with that's where we came up with the idea, and the terminology is called agritourism or agritainment. So we're innovating farming with the tourism business. So families are coming out to our farm, coming out, picking fruit, enjoying that activity. We also have about 20 different activities here on the farm, from the jumping pillows to the mega slide to the tricycle tracks. So families come out to our farm for 4 to 5 hours at a time. So we're creating a whole day out of it. So with that, all that value added stuff, that's where we're able to provide more for the business and be able to stay profitable the entirety of the year instead of that 4 to 5 weeks out of the season. So thinking outside of the box and integrating with the tourism business, it's really helped us out, and it's helping us stay profitable and to continue to grow at levels where we should be growing. All right, so I'm going to start off with our spring season. So the first crop we're growing in the spring is tulips. So this past season we planted 50,000 tulip bulbs, and they're bloomed beautifully. So with that crop in particular, we're trying to extend the season as early as possible in the spring. So the idea of tulips came about, and we tried it a couple years ago. It turned out awesome. So now we are doing a tulip festival in the earliest part of the year. And with the tulips, it's a very interesting crop because the consumers aren't eating a product. So that was our hardest thing to realize is, on strawberries, folks are coming out here picking a berry, they're eating it, consuming it. But on tulips, we didn't understand how that's going to work, but it's been an awesome turnaround. Tulips are a very short process. It's a very quick ROI. So we plant our tulips in November, they bloom in the spring, and then the season's done for. And then every year we're replanting new bulbs. So the tulips are just an amazing crop. They turned out amazing. You got to have a very captive audience, though. That's one thing we're learning now, is not everybody's going to want to come out to the farm with tulips. So you got to create more of a festival style around it to make it work and make it profitable. So next on our list is strawberries. Here on our farm, we have about 3.5 acres worth of strawberries, and strawberries are a very well-known crop here in the Southwest Missouri region. There's a lot of farms who do grow strawberries, and strawberries in this area are absolutely amazing. With the strawberries, we've taken the approach with the festival base and festival style, and being part of the agritourism is it creates a lot of energy and a lot of momentum. And with strawberries, it's one of our most profitable crops. We do grow out in the field just because the square footage that you're planting on and the yields that we're getting with the newer varieties have just been amazing. So strawberries is an amazing crop. I say once I figure it out, it's fairly easy, but I'm a farmer. I'm still learning every day, new challenges, new diseases, different types of fertilizers that are coming out and different chemicals to spray. So you just got to have a wealth of knowledge to make it work, but it's possible. I've done it and it's amazing. And strawberries, like I mentioned, is one of our most profitable crops that we do grow in the fields. So now moving on to June, then we enter into blueberry and blackberry season. And blueberries and blackberries are a very interesting crop where they're amazing. People love them. One thing we've quickly realized is the shift from the strawberry season to the blackberry season. Blueberries and blackberries don't really have, I would say, the hype around it, mainly because in June and July here in Missouri, it gets 100 degrees and really hot and humid, and folks don't want to come spend 2 to 3 hours on the farm. They want to come out here, pick their blackberries and leave. So depending on what system you're trying to integrate in your farm, blackberries and blueberries do really well for us here on the farm, at the farm store and at the farmer's market. So we do grow quite a bit of blueberries. We have an acre of blueberries and an acre of blackberries. You just got to make sure you have multiple different avenues to sell your product, because we quickly realized that U-Pick, it does great with blueberries, but it's not as great as strawberries. So whenever that problem came along, we had to say, you know what, we're only going to do U-Pick X amount of days on blueberries and blackberries, pick the rest and some to the farm store, just because the heat of the summer, folks don't like to coming out, you know, they like to come out early. But whenever you have all the different food stations and lemonade and kettle corn open, then you got to have the employees that come in. So the logistical issue was a bit of a problem for us on our farm here. For other operations, if you're just doing blueberries and blackberries, there's very successful farms that are doing that. But for here on our farm, integrating with the agritourism, it was a little bit of a problem to figure out. But once we figured it out, we made it work. So farmers market are very, very profitable for the blueberries and blackberries. You just got to make sure you stay on top of it and make sure you're able to sell the product you are growing. So back to the summer crops, the crops that we do grow here on our farm, we do grow a lot of high tunnel tomatoes, and tomatoes are kind of near and dear to my heart because that's what I brought back to the farm whenever I was in college. And we did get all of our high tunnels through the NRCS High Tunnel Equip grant. So we're very thankful to those guys who helped us provide and help us get high tunnels here on the farm, and they've been amazing. Tomatoes are kind of a staple of our summer produce that we grow here, and our customers love our tomatoes. So the tomato varieties that we do grow, I think, have a big part to do with why our customers love them so much. So the varieties we do grow are Red Deuce and Carolina Golds. I'm not saying those are the best varieties, but they work for us. They have amazing flavor. The acidity levels are awesome. The sugar levels are awesome. So the way we grow the tomatoes, grow them all in high tunnels. We grow them on black plastic. One thing I learned early on is weeds love the high tunnels more than the tomatoes. So you got to stay on top of the weeds. One thing to keep in mind with tomatoes is they are like little kids. If you don't feed them, they don't grow. And that goes with all the crops here on our farm. But especially with tomatoes in the high tunnel, when it's not raining from up top, you got to be able to provide them plenty of water and plenty of fertilizer. And like I mentioned, they are a big part of our summer crops. And we do sell the tomatoes mainly here in our farm store, through the farm store and at farmers markets. The farmers markets are a big deal for us in the summer months. So tomatoes, that's how we do that. Now, as the agritourism has been increasing here on our farm, we're thinking about doing a couple of days of, like, towards the end of the tomato season, like a canning U-Pick something, just to get people out here to buy a box of tomatoes and see how that goes, to start canning them. And we're thinking about doing educational classes on how to properly can, and there's many ideas. If we go down that rabbit hole of ideas how to integrate here on the farm, it's endless. But tomatoes are still a big part of our summer crop. So a typical, July afternoon at the farmer's market, we'll have blueberries, blackberries. If we don't have our own peach crop, then we supplement peaches in, tomatoes, and we do grow a little bit of produce like zucchini and squash, just to make it, if we're going out to the farmer's market, at least try to sell some more. We also have the baked goods, but I'll talk about that a little later. But yeah, typical farmer's market day is very successful for us, and the farm market does awesome here on the farm. So one crop that has been a staple here on the farm is apples. Apples have been on this land since 1981. The previous owner, Cliff Plaster, he came out here and planted 20 acres of traditional apples, and him and his family, they ran the orchard, just apples and a few peaches for many, many years. Our family had the opportunity in 2013 to come purchase the farm from him and take it over. So apples have been the reason why we call this Gardener's Orchard. Apples are, I would say they're a medium to difficult crop to grow depending on what varieties you're planting, what rootstocks. Now with the high density that we started implementing here on the farm, there's so many other variants that can go wrong or good for you. So apples aren't too difficult crop to grow. You just got to kind of know your research and keep on learning. One of the things I've been dealing with, like last year, we got hit really hard by a disease called fire blight, and just learning all about that, getting the sprays on time. So like I mentioned, apples are the reason why we're called Gardener's Orchard. They're a huge part. There's a lot of energy behind apples. So in the past couple of years, we've been integrating the apple picking with our fall festival. So September and October, we open with our fall on the farm. So in September is our apple month, so it's easy to promote. Everybody loves coming out to the orchard, picking a beautiful bag of apples, enjoying the day on the farm, and of course in the bakery we're selling our apple cider donuts. Those are absolutely amazing as well. But from the growing perspective, apples do produce a lot. So I would say overall, apples are one of the most profitable crops we do grow here on our farm, just because the way we integrate with our U-pick, we are charging a premium for the apples that we are growing here on our farm. So in a normal year, you'll see around 1,000 to 1,200 bushels per acre. So we're selling them by the pound. So your numbers, your profit is really high on apples, just because the way we are selling them and how we integrate here on our farm. And like I said, we like to keep the orchard going just so we can keep the farm name going and the history, and respecting the ones that came before us and telling their story and how we took it over. But overall, apples are the most profitable crop here on our farm. So here comes October with pumpkins. In the last couple of years, we started planting a lot of pumpkins. I believe last year we had right around 10 acres of pumpkins. And like I mentioned, our fall festival has really taken off, where we're growing a lot of different varieties of pumpkins. And if we go down the rabbit hole of pumpkins with all the different varieties and the systems of growing, it's endless. And one thing I've realized here in our area is the best way to grow pumpkins is on plastic and drip tape, just because our summers have been so dry, our summers have been so hot that they need that water. And one of the things I've been learning is that you're able to integrate your pest management through your irrigation system, which makes it really easy for different bug issue that you're having. And of course, most pumpkins are not an edible crop. Some are like the winter squashes, but that's the nice thing about pumpkins is they kind of sell themselves. Every family in America goes to the pumpkin patch in the fall. So we kind of fill that void here in our area and creating that family fun around the October Fall Festival. So pumpkins is a very awesome crop we grow here on the farm. I would personally say they're one of the easier ones because they are an annual crop. So you plant in the spring, you harvest in the fall, and you start over every year. That's not the case in apples or any fruit trees, where you got to put them in the ground and they grow for many, many years and you got to tend to them. So pumpkins are a big part of our fall festival now. Like I mentioned, we did grow about 10 acres of pumpkins. We're looking to up that a little more this year. But pumpkins is the best crop for October. So in the past few years, one crop we've been integrating is U-pick flowers. And this is one crop that I was totally against to plant, but me being the wiser person, I guess, and I'm willing to try. That's the thing about me, is even though I hate a crop, I'm still willing to try. So the funny story is, in 2021, I came back from a blackberry conference in Arkansas. I met my good friend now, and he was like, "Hey Dre, you got to plant some sunflowers and see how they go." And surprisingly, it brought out a whole new different customer base. And even though I hated flowers at the time, I was like, hey, we're on to something now. So during our fall festival in September and October, we are implementing the U-pick flowers. So we're growing zinnias, marigolds, cosmos, all the different types of U-pick flowers, annual flowers, and of course our sunflowers. So of sunflowers, if you're doing a sunflower festival, it has a lot of energy behind it, a lot of hype. So it's really easy to promote on our social media pages, and it brings out a whole new different customer base. And they come to our farm, they come pick flowers, and then let me go see what else they have. They come pick an apple, they come pick a pumpkin. So the whole entirety of the farm is integrated around the flowers now. So flowers have become a pretty big part of our fall festival. I would say when you look at the numbers and the profit versus losses and how much energy it takes, flowers are a very profitable crop. For example, like we planted an acre of zinnias this year. It only cost me about $500 to plant, and you'll be surprised how much profit we made off those zinnias. So flowers are starting to become a big part of our farm now. And with our farm and how we get integrated with the agritourism, having a lot of photo booths, having the chairs, just all kinds of different angles that you can shoot from the flowers and picking. So flowers, sunflowers, zinnias, and all kinds of you-pick flowers are a big part of our farming operation, and it makes us even more profitable. So now we're getting to my favorite part of the farm, is the food on the farm. So this is something we quickly realized when we added our bakery in 2016. We were just selling pastries and homemade bread. And during our spring strawberry season, we were selling donuts out of the wazoo. Like, hey, folks really enjoy eating a fresh strawberry donut, a fresh homemade Danish, or a pastry. So then we're like, you know what, why don't we try to integrate more and more food here on the farm? So we are currently doing lemonades, kettle corns, cotton candy, freshly made hamburgers with local beef, homemade pizzas with homemade dough, homemade sauce, our fresh homemade berries and slushies. So food is a big part of our operation here. When you look at the numbers, I would say it's anywhere from 30 to 40% of our total. With that, it has its own challenges with the health inspections and being legal in your county you're in. But overall, it is worth it. You do need to have more employees. So we have more employees in our food areas than we do on the actual farming operation, but hey, that's just part of the restaurant industry. But the food is just awesome. It creates a lot of energy, and that's one thing about food, is it's got to be amazing. So all of our food is different from something you find in town, and that's one of the nice things that we have here on our farm, is we have a very captive audience. So whenever they walk through our gates, they don't go anywhere else. They're kind of stuck here, and with that, we're able to sell them our food products. So food has been an absolutely amazing part of our story here, and they make a big chunk of our change here on the farm. So it's a very profitable business model with the food. So we're very excited. We're going to continue to implement food and add more and more. Like I said, ideas are endless in this business. So you look at all the types of carnival foods, all the types of restaurant foods, it can be implemented here on our farm. Another big part of our farming operation here at Gardeners is our retail store, our farm store, and the exit barn. So with that, it's a very awesome where you're able to provide your customers with freshly made jams and jellies. So my mom is a canner. She makes her homemade apple butter, strawberry preserves, all kinds of good stuff. And with that, it's just the value added side of the farm, where let's say like last year we got hit by hail during our strawberry season. We went through, picked all our strawberries. Now, if we didn't have our canning facility, we had to throw those away or figure out another market. But we're like, you know what, let's just keep that in the house. We cooked them up. My mom does her magic there. And now we have our fresh strawberry jams, and her apple butter is amazing. So here on our farm, the retail space provides more of a consistent value added energy, where we're able to be open 6 days a week with our farm store. Folks come out to the farm, even if we don't have anything to pick, or if we're not open with the festival, folks can still come out and purchase something. So it creates that cash flow, more consistent cash flow the entirety of the season. So like our farm store, we open in the spring with bedding plants and flowers. And then we have all the produce we grow, all the fruit we grow the entirety of the summer. So the farm store is open April through October. So that's a big chunk of our farming operation. And it's the most valuable retail space we have here on the farm, just because if you calculate the square footage on the dollars you're making, it's pretty amazing. So if you can have a farm stand, a farm store, or a retail space, I would highly recommend it. And it creates a nice place. So if your customers come out to your farm when you're closed for you-pick, well, you say, hey, instead of, we don't have any strawberries today, but hey, let me get you interested in strawberry jelly. Let me get you interested in some baked goods. So it just creates a lot of good energy around it. So another big part of our farming operation is events and festivals. And with that in mind, that has become a very big part of our operation, where we do a big strawberry festival once a year. We do a big apple cider festival. So with that, it creates a lot of momentum behind it, where folks in our generation, in my generation, are the type of people who like experiences versus a product. So we're capitalizing on that market, where we can, you know, open an event, open a festival, and then folks just come out here. We have live music a lot of times with our events. We have different vendors that might come in, and it's just creating the energy that our customers want. And like I mentioned, folks in my generation rather pay for an experience versus a product. That's one thing we're capitalizing on and moving forward with. And events and festivals, I would say, is a big part of our farming operation. So future plans, if you would have asked me 5 years ago what our future plans would have been of the farm, I would have told you I had no plan moving forward. But being open-minded and being willing to try new things, we finally figured out something that is working here on the farm, is sustainable, is providing for our family, is cash flow positive. So moving forward, our farming operations continues to stick to the U-Pick. We're still an active farm, and we're going to continue to add more activities for the kids to do, more food. So just growing this business plan that we have into something bigger and greater. Within a 30-mile radius of our operation, there's about 400,000 people. So we have a big pool of people to pull from. So we're going to try to capitalize on that audience. So yeah, moving forward, like I mentioned, we're just going to try to create a better time for all of our customers to come out, grow more crops, grow more products. So that's the plan moving forward. Plans might change. We are thinking about a retail shop more closer to town or closer to the highway. But like I mentioned, that's just all ideas going back and forth. And if you ask me, as a family, we're very passionate about this business, and we're full of ideas. We just got to have enough time and energy to start integrating them. So in 10 years from now, I don't know where I'm going to be, but I believe I'm going to continue to do what we're doing here, and we're going to continue to just, you know, be an active operating farm.
We are Oakwoods Farm. We're a 62-acre diversified farm. We grow vegetables from A to Z, and Boer goats for meat, and beef cattle as well. We have a half acre under vegetable production in our gardens. A quarter acre of that is in high tunnels. So half of what we do is in high tunnels. We've been gardening full-time since 2013. We market at two farmers markets, Webb City Farmers Market and Joplin Empire Market. We also direct market here from our farm store, online. We work with 2 restaurants, a school district now. That's actually been a very good experience. It's been a very good experience. I encourage everyone to try to take advantage of the farm to school program now. So online, 2 restaurants, farm stand, and 2 farmers markets is how we market our product.
Talking about your school program, I'm always interested with that. Have you had a good response from the kids? I'm always interested with their response to fresh produce.
The response from the kids has been wonderful and unexpected.
Yeah.
When we started with the school district, we started it at a minimum. I would say, well, it was good volume for us. But then the staff and the kiddos liked it so much that they doubled their order. And so that really cleaned us out of lettuce for the remainder of the winter, and we're restocking that now in the high tunnels. So very encouraging. And to me, it's fresh, it's local, it tastes better, it's crunchy, and just delicious, and kids know.
That is great. I'm so excited that they liked it and that it was a positive experience for them. I'm interested also, how was it economically for you? Because I know sometimes when you sell to restaurants and institutions like that, it's typically a wholesale program. Was that your experience?
That was not my experience. So part of our business model is that, and this includes the restaurants, if we can sell it at our full retail price and move it at our full retail price, and that's what they're going to pay for it. And the restaurants that we work with, they understand that. They know we're a small farm, and so they pay what we ask. And then the school district did as well. So we're getting our full retail price. So that's what you would pay at the farmer's market or in our online store or at our farm stand. The school pays that same price.
I think that's an excellent point to make, that you are a farm, but you're a business, and you're here to make a profit. So thank you for pointing that out.
There are lots of opportunities to market your product and market our product. And I forgot to mention that we do a small natural food store too in Carthage. But you have to make sure that those are going to be profitable for you. The farmer's market by far, with packing up everything, taking it to market, having people there to help us sell the product, it's a big chunk of expense actually to go to market, but that's where we move the majority of our product. So that's been very profitable. Just make sure that it's profitable for you and that you're not giving your product away just to get it into that grocery store or just to sell it online, and try to stay consistent. And I think that's really helped us. We're very consistent across all of our marketing channels, all of our sales channels. Our presence at the farmers market has really helped to build our business. We've built friendships and relationships with our customers. They know what they can expect from us. So word of mouth has just been tremendous. And then talking to the customers and trying to find out what's the most convenient method for them to get our produce onto their table. And in some cases, it's, I can't come to the farmer's market. Can we pre-order and then pick it up here or there? Or just trying to figure out where is your customer? What's convenient for them? And that word of mouth is priceless.
Yeah, you did mention that you have a website. How are you funneling people to your website?
Social media. At our farm stand, we have a sign up for our newsletter. And people are interested. They want to know what's going on the farm, even though we do this every day. And it's work, but work that we love. It's really interesting to people what's going on out here, what's growing, what we're seeding, what we're doing. So that has helped. The newsletter drive more.
Yeah. Do you do any value added sales or anything like that? Farmers market.
I will tell you, we did venture into value added, and so we'll dehydrate our ginger. We'll make chili seasoning mixes with all of our chilies. We take cabbage actually, and once a year in October we make bierox. We rent the kitchen at Oak Street Natural Market and make bierox, and that goes over really well for winter sales. But we've actually pulled back from value added. There is profit to be had there. Our farm is very small. At this point, we're a 3-person farm, so we really have to make the choice of what we want to do and make sure that we don't spread ourselves too thin. So we kind of cut the value added out, and we're focusing more on vegetable production.
That's good to know. Having your priorities. And do you have a time or a season? I'm sure you have an off season, not necessarily an off season, but maybe a slower point. Do you have any goal planning point of your season that you sit down with your team on your farm, that you do any goal planning or kind of how you foresee the year?
Yes, that's usually in January. After all of the books have come in and we're closing 2023, the past year. How did we do? And what do we want to do in the coming year? And how are we going to get there? And we just actually finished that process. Yeah. And coming back to the value added, it helps to clarify where you're really making money, what you really want to do. And it just sets you up for not trying to do absolutely everything.
Yeah, it helps make some of those decisions for you.
Yes.
Yes.
That's
what I have found.
Data.
Yeah, data helps. Yes, for sure. Would you share with us, Karen, your top tips for maybe a new producer that's wanting to get into lettuce production?
For a new producer that's wanting to get into lettuce production, 4 seasons, I would really spend some time with somebody that is doing that successfully. There are local farms around that just might let you work there or tag along, maybe a tour. There's also lots of training. There's this video series. So there's lots of training at Extension. So I would definitely see if you can work somewhere, get some experience under your belt, and then get as much training as you can. Learn from everybody else's mistakes before you spend money and have to make those mistakes yourself. Number 2, a cooler. You really need a cooler. You know, getting set up with a CoolBot it's fairly inexpensive, but you definitely, if you want to take high quality, fresh produce with a long shelf life that delights your customer, then you definitely need a cooler and a workspace to go with that. The third thing, make sure you understand what your financials are. What is your goal with this? Anybody that knows me knows that I like to run the numbers and know if something is profitable or not. But, understand that. To me, when I see that, oh yeah, we really are making money on this, it is profitable, it is floating the farm, then I get very excited about that and want to just grow that more.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So get some experience, cooler and wash pack area, and then know what your numbers are.
Welcome to Millsap Farm. I'm Curtis Millsap, and my wife Sarah and I have been farming here at Millsap Farm for 17 years. In 2010, we were offered the opportunity to use land next door to us. This adjacent landowner had 10 acres he was not using. And he said, hey, you want to farm this? And I said, yeah, that sounds great. We've done so well with 1.5 acres. Let's grow 7 acres of vegetables. And of course, that was a disaster on many levels, but primarily because we didn't have enough labor to do weed control. We didn't have enough water to keep everything irrigated. And we really didn't have enough of a budget to get fertility out on all that. So we were essentially trying to grow vegetables without enough water, without enough fertility, without enough labor. And so I've said these words, let's get the brush hog out and see if there's any carrots under those weeds. And that is a great way to grow weeds, not a great way to grow carrots. So in 2012, we shrank. At the same time, and I haven't really referenced this, but we were doing pastured poultry alongside our vegetables. In a typical year, we would do about 1,000 meat birds and had several hundred laying hens. And then we also did turkeys, sometimes as many as 200, I think we tried to do 400 turkeys one year. I don't think we ever succeeded quite that number. And then we had some hogs as well. And we're doing a little bit of farrow to finish pork and then selling a lot of piglets as well. So all these things, all these pieces of the puzzle were kind of coming together. But in 2010, it really reached a head in terms of just not having enough time. And so in 2010, we said, well, we're going to give up the animals because I was clearly wired up, more inclined toward vegetables and plants than I was toward animals. And mostly that's a matter of my time frame and things, my commitments I want to make. I really like having free weekends. I like having the ability to go and do things and take a day away from the farm. And with animals, that was very, very difficult. With vegetables, that was much more practical. So in 2011, we cut the animals out, but we're still doing that 7 acres of vegetables. And it helped. Our lives got a little bit less chaotic, but we still had way too much on the ground, trying to tend way too much out in the field. And so that year, it was a pretty dry year in the summertime. And so in 2011, I had a really kind of a moment of truth where I realized this is not working. if we're going to continue, we're going to have to shrink this farm drastically, and we're going to have to figure out a way to do more with less in terms of labor and expenses and things like that. So 2011 was that sort of epiphany year. 2012 turned out to be the biggest drought year that anybody had seen in the Ozarks for probably 70 years, certainly since the 50s. And so we had a good bit of rain in the spring, but then on May 1st, the water spigot turned off. It stopped raining, and it didn't rain again until the 1st of September. So long, hot, dry summer. We were already hitting temperatures in the 90s in the beginning of May. And that year we had retracted to our own property, so we weren't using anybody's borrowed property at that point. And we had about 2 acres of vegetables growing. And that 2 acres actually produced more income, gross and net, than we had on the 7 acres the year before. And additionally, we had a much better quality of life. We had a better daily cycle. I mean, we were actually making headway each day instead of finding ourselves at the end of each day going, oh my goodness, we've got more to do than we started with. It was actually starting to make sense. So that's what brought us to the point where we said, well, 2 acres is about right for us. And so we've held that line pretty closely for the last 13 years. We're basically a 2 to 2.5 acres of vegetable and cut flower production. And so we've grown internally. So our income has expanded considerably within that same footprint. We've gotten better at using our ground. We've gotten better at taking care of the soil. We've gotten better at irrigation, crop protection, and then making sure we, as they say, harvest what we plant. That's kind of the criteria for success anymore for us is, are we harvesting what we plant? Once we put the effort into prepping a bed and getting into the ground, let's make sure that it's tended and cared for in a way that it's going to come out with a productive harvest. So that's kind of been a guiding principle. We've added some other profit centers over the years, some agritourism. We've gone to more farmers markets and less farmers markets over the year. We do a big CSA nowadays. And so we can dig into all those enterprises as we talk about those specifically. But the farm is big, it's diverse. I mean, it's big from my perspective in terms of how many people I manage. For example, I just did taxes for 2023. And so in 2023, we had 25 employees who generated tax documents. Okay, so some of those people were people who were here every day, all day long. Most of them were people who were part-time, came and went, on a maybe a weekly basis, but a wide range of workers as well. We've had people who've been with us for, my farm manager, Kimby, has now been with me for, I think, close to 12 years. And then we've got people who, call me on a weekly basis, hey, I'd love to come and volunteer and learn something. And oftentimes those people, if that works out over time, they may develop into an hourly or even a salaried worker and really take a place in the farm crew. So a big crew. Relatively small plot of land. We've got 25 acres total, and on that we grow about 2.5 to 3 acres of vegetables and cut flowers. But we also have a lot of covered space. So we have, I think, about 30,000 square feet of covered space nowadays. So that's about a quarter to even a third of our total production space is under cover. And that really helps us control some of the challenges the climate throws at us, helps us be more predictable and reliable producers. So it helps in our marketing as well. So then we know when we tell somebody we'll grow tomatoes for you, that we really have a very good chance of being able to do that, both based on the covered space and also on our experience. So that's kind of an overview of the history of the farm. And now we'll dig into individual enterprises. Let's talk a little bit about one of my favorite enterprises on the farm, which is the CSA, Community Supported Agriculture Program. The CSA was how we got started, that and Farmers Market. And essentially, it is a group of members who say up front, we want to be part of this farm this year. They pay us to be members of the farm, and then they get a box of produce each week during the growing season. Now, over the years, it's shifted. Initially, we sold, I think, just one size of box, and we had about 25 members. And so, whatever was in that box, that was what you got. And so my family always says, I'm a big family, we say, we get what you get, you don't throw a fit. Unfortunately, that's not really how consumers work. They get what they get, but they might throw a fit. And so over the years, we worked toward moving our CSA from sort of a traditional one-size-fits-all box into a lot of different ways of meeting the consumer needs. And so, for example, we added sizes almost right away. We said, well, it makes sense to me that a family, a single person is not going to eat the same amount of produce as a family of 4 or 5. So we made different size boxes. And then some people would say, well, I really, even this small box is too much produce for me. I really want to be part of the CSA, but how could I? So then we went to every other week boxes for some folks, and that worked out pretty easily, pretty simply for us. We would just put kind of an A group and a B group, and we would try and keep those groups balanced. And at this point, we were still mostly managing this through just a spreadsheet and handwork. And then not too far into our CSA program, a program called Small Farm Central came along. It was Simon at Small Farm Central was one of the first software developers to look at what we were doing and say, wow, these guys' lives could be made much better by a fairly simple piece of software. And so Simon Huntley built that out, and we were taken from the word go, because that was definitely not a strength of ours, managing all that stuff at the desk. So his software managed payments, managed membership signups, and then managed when people should get boxes. So you could have an every other week share, you could have an array of sizes, and all that could be spit out on a pick list or a box list, and then we would know what to pick. And then he started experimenting with customization. And of course, this was the gold standard for all CSAs, was how do we make sure that the CSA member who loves beets gets their beets every week, but also the CSA member who really never wants to see beets in their share never gets those beets. Because beets, onions, there's arugula, there's a whole bunch of vegetables that are fairly polarizing. People have strong feelings about them one way or the other. And so we had done lots of customer surveys by then and realized there was no crop mix that would make everybody happy. If we did enough beets, some people just were going to hate those beets. And if we didn't have them, a lot of people were going to miss them, and so on. So customization was a big deal. So Simon came up with a program called Harvey, and it's basically an algorithm, and we've been using it now for years. I don't think there's any going back. It makes our customers so much more satisfied, and it really fits their needs very well. And specifically what that means is that on a Thursday afternoon, Kimby and I walk the fields. My farm manager, Kimby, and I walk the fields. We look at what's available. How many vegetables how many heads of lettuce can we harvest? How many pounds of tomatoes do we think we'll have? And then we look through our cooler. How many hundreds of pounds of potatoes are still in here? How many hundreds of pounds of carrots, and so on. We collect all that into what we call a harvest list, and we put that into Harvey, and then we generate shares. And all that means is we push a button, but the algorithm does the work, and it goes through and it sorts what we've got available into the box sizes and values that we've sold to allow people, and it uses, in the sorting, it uses their preferences. They've gone in advance and rated, kohlrabi from 1 to 5, either love it or hate it. I always put this in my box or never put this in my box, or something neutral. And so Harvey, the algorithm Harvey, goes through and takes our harvest list and sorts it out into those people's individual boxes based on their preferences. So right out of the gate, they've got a modified box that's modified in such a manner that it should be favorable for them, right? And that's wonderful. Then part 2 of that is they get that email on Friday. They have Saturday and Sunday to modify their box further. So if they want to go in and let's say, oh, we love kohlrabi, but this week we really are trying to make a big batch of salsa, and so we'd love to have a bunch of onions, garlic, and peppers, tomatoes, then they can swap their kohlrabi for other vegetables, or vice versa. If they see something they like, they can swap. And if they see something that they like it, but they don't want to swap, they just want to buy it, they also have the capacity to do that, so they can add things to their share. So, of course, all this comes at a cost. And with Harvey, it's around 7%. So that's a steep price to pay, but at the same time, it mostly ended our discontent with the CSA. There were always a few folks who would quit the CSA pretty early on, saying, yeah, it just doesn't work for me. I just can't have this level of unpredictability and unknowability about what I'm going to get. And then, I just don't like beets. I just don't like arugula or whatever, or vice versa. I'm just not getting enough of the things I really want. I'm going to go back to buying at the farmer's market because I want that fennel and beets and arugula every week and I can get it. So it really short-circuited that. It gave people a voice, and it gave people an opportunity to, it's almost like a game for them now to go in and swap their share and build the best vegetable share they can find. And then for us, on our end, it looks like on Monday morning, we print a pick list. It's an overall pick list. And Tuesday morning, we print the individual pack labels. Every box gets a label, goes on the box. We lay out all the vegetables that we have harvested in sort of a buffet line, and we walk down through there we have a little rolly conveyor, and we just shop out of those boxes of vegetables into this delivery box that's going to go out to this individual. So, first step in modifying our CSA was finding ways to customize the share, whether that was size, frequency, and then eventually even customizing the specific contents of the share, all with an eye toward making sure that these folks have as much chance at being satisfied as possible. The other modification we made that's along those same lines was starting to do deliveries. And we resisted that for quite a while. Delivery raises a whole nother level of logistics. But the truth is, a lot of people are living really busy lives, and whether that is, a good thing or a bad thing, it's a reality. And so expecting them to make the trip to the farm, for most of these people, we're about 4 miles outside of Springfield. It's not a big drive, but if you're on the south side of Springfield, it's a 30-minute drive or maybe a 40-minute drive. Well, that's a long way for them to go and pick up a box of vegetables each week. So it made sense both ecologically and economically for us to provide a delivery service. And so this was about the time that my kids were getting the driving age. And so it's worked out pretty well. We've been able, mostly my kids, but others also have been able to earn a really nice amount of cash by delivering these shares. So we just pass that money through. We keep $1 or $1.50 for packing the shares and for maintaining the boxes. And we use reusable buckhorn totes. But the rest of that money goes to them, and they make a lot of money on a weekly basis making that delivery route and delivering the shares door to door. And we also have some pickup sites in town where we take a bulk group of boxes. And then we still have about 60 to 70 members who pick up on farm. We're nowadays running about 250 members. It peaked during COVID at closer to 350. It's backed off just a little bit. We've also added a lot of things to our CSA beyond just what we produce. So that includes things like melons and sweet corn from some of the Amish growers in the area, but also can include even things as out of the box as ground beef or cuts of beef from